In this video, I'm going to tell you how to get the best out of the Sony 16 to 15mm kit lens and why it's worth buying in 2024. There are still some people who aren't convinced that the Sony 16 to 15mm kit lens is a lens that they should buy. And I think it's really three reasons why that I found that people are not confident to buy this lens. And the first one is the price. The second reason is the size. And the third reason is YouTube. Now, in this video, I'm going to tell you why I believe the kit lens is 100% worth it and why you should buy it, especially if you are a beginner. Now, if you don't want to sit and watch this video, I'm just going to cut to the short of it, which is this. This lens is a great lens, but it needs a lot of light. If you don't have a lot of light, or if you don't have quality light, this lens is just not gonna look good. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you try to finesse it, finagle it. It's just not gonna work without light. So know that. Okay, so this is what I'm working with. So this is my Sony FX30, but I'm actually recording with the Sony ZV E10 with the kit lens. This is what I was actually using, what you guys saw me sitting on that couch with. But basically, I have a shower curtain here, and this shower curtain, I'm just turning the ISO down so it doesn't blow out. But this shower curtain here is just held up by this light stand I have here, and then I have these clips, just clipping it on there, nothing really difficult. I'll put the link to all of this in the description, but it's just a shower curtain that I had laying around. And then behind that, I have this light here. And this light is just maybe about 8 feet behind the curtain here. I don't have any modifiers on it. It's just the raw light. You can see just coming right out of there, hitting the shower curtain and just giving me this soft light here. Now, let me show you. If I move this here, you'll see how harsh that light is. You see that? If you look at the table, you could really get a good idea. That's the table just with raw light, and you can see the shadows and things like that from the headphones and things like that. But if I let this fall, then you can see those shadows are gone. This table now has a nice soft light on it, and so does that couch back there. Again, I move it, you see the harsh shadows. The harsh shadows where the headphones are right there. You see that? That's where the headphones are, the shadow is. But if I put this curtain in front of it, they disappear. And that is what soft light will get you. And that makes a huge difference in the quality of what you're looking at. And even if you look on the wall there, you can see the difference. That's the hard light with the harsh shadows, and this is all the shower curtain. All of that there is because of the shower curtain. So again, lighting makes a huge difference when you're talking about any lens, but specifically the kit lens in this situation. So my settings on the back of this camera, I'm at 3.5, which is as wide as this aperture on this kit lens can go. So I'm zoomed all the way out. Now remember, this is a variable aperture lens. So if I zoom in, my aperture changes. I'm gonna step back some, and you can see now I'm underexposed. And that's because now I'm at 5.6, but if I zoom out again, you'll see that now I'm back at 3.5 and my lighting is good. So that's one thing you wanna be aware of with this lens. There's no way to change that. That's the way the lens works. But I'm at 3.5 as far as my aperture. I'm shooting a shutter speed of 1/50, and I am at ISO 320. And my histogram looks good. And this is what I'm seeing right here. This is what I'm getting right out of the camera. And my white balance is right around 6400. This light here is a 5600 Kelvin light, but I'm changing my white balance to 6400 just because I want a little bit more warmth out of everything. So this is my setting with the kit lens. And like I said, it doesn't require a lot, but the right kind of light and knowing how to set up your settings makes a huge difference when you're talking about getting the most out of your kit lens. All right, one of the things that's really important when it comes to lighting is the color temperature of a light. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically it means that every light is measured in something called Kelvin. The cooler the light, or the more bluish it is, the lower the number is going to be. The warmer the light, the higher the number is going to be. It's going to be more reddish or orangish light. So the light behind me is more like white light. It's at 5600 Kelvin, but my actual camera is set to 2800 Kelvin. So it thinks that that light is cooler than what it actually is. So it's pulling out the reds and it's making it blue. But let me show you, this light in front of me here is actually set to 2800 Kelvin. So that means that when the camera sees this light, it looks like regular light or white light. So let me show you, this is what that looks like. Now again, it's gonna look overexposed because I'm really close to it, but this is set to 2800 Kelvin and so is the camera. So I should look, even though it's pretty bright, I should look pretty normal here. But you can see again behind me is bluish looking. So how do we fix that? Well, I need to figure out what Kelvin or color temperature those lights behind me are at. And the way I do that is by using this. This is a gray card for white balancing. Now, what I'll do is I'll take my camera and I'll go into the white balance settings and I'll manually set the white balance by focusing in on this card by putting it right in the middle of the screen. And then I'll take a picture of it. And the camera will give me a number. It'll give me a Kelvin reading. So if I go over there, I'm pretty sure that if I take a Kelvin reading of that, I'm gonna get probably 5600 Kelvin. So let's check it out. I'm gonna grab my iPhone so I can record the ZV E10 doing that. All right, so I'm at the back of the ZV E10 right now, and I'm looking at this wall here in the screen. Now it's gonna look blown out. Let me bring this down so it doesn't look blown out. Okay, I'm gonna take my gray card right here. It looks gray in real life. It may not on the phone. And I'm going to hit the menu button. And not the menu button, I'm sorry. I'm gonna hit the function button and I'm gonna go into my white balance here. I'm gonna go down to this first flower here and I'm gonna go to set. That little square right there, I wanna line my gray card up so that it's in the middle of that square. And then I want to take a picture of it. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put the phone down for a sec because I only have two hands. Okay, so it looks like the camera has selected 4800K. That's that 4800 Kelvin. I'm not gonna worry about the A, B, O, and the gamma settings and all that. I'll talk about that stuff later. But we can see we just set a custom white balance for this. So what that means is now I should have a white picture coming out of the ZV E10 or a more balanced look. So let's take a look at that on the ZV E10. Okay, so I have now set the white balance to 4800 Kelvin manually through the ZV E10 using a gray card. And this is what it looks like. These lights here, you can see they don't look blue anymore. So I like the way this looks. It's still a little bit blue, but I just want to show you guys something here. So now if I come back over here to where I was, remember this light was set at 2800 Kelvin. And now you see I'm really orange looking. And that's because this color temperature on this light is not where it's supposed to be. But if you look behind me, those look regular, like white light. So let's go back. I'm gonna grab my phone here. And I'm going to change the color temperature on this Godox light so that it matches the lights behind me. And you're gonna watch my face actually change. So let's go ahead and change it to 4800 Kelvin here. All right, I'm at 48. So these lights now, this light here, that light, and in the camera are all having the same color temperature. So that means now the scene behind me looks normal. Nothing looks out of place. So I can't change those lights, but because I can change this light and I can change the color temperature in the camera, now I can make things match. Now again, This type stuff may not seem like a huge deal, but it's huge, especially when you don't have a lot with the kit lens and it needs a lot of light. So that backlight behind me makes a big difference. I'm gonna go turn it off and we're gonna see what it looks like without it. So this is what it looks like with nothing behind me at all. So again, that backlighting like that just adds to it and it doesn't look like there's just a big void behind me. So I'm gonna turn them back on. All right, so you can see how important light is and color temperature and things like that. And you can get a pretty decent image out of the kit lens. Again, you just need to manage your light. And you also need to do another thing, and that is setting up your zebras and things like that. Now, I have a video about that I'll link above here so you can see how to set up your zebras. But just know that when it comes to the kit lens, you can use it, but again, it needs a lot of light and it needs the light to be set up correctly in order to get the most out of it. Let's go back to the beginning of the 3 reasons why I think some people struggle with buying this lens. Now, the first one is the price. Now, this lens can be had for about 50 to 300 bucks. So 50 bucks is gonna be like a used lens from like KEH, which is where I actually bought this lens from. Or you can buy it brand new from like B&H, Amazon, or places like that. Now, this lens has been around for a long time, so that's why you have this range in pricing. We live in a culture where if things cost a lot, then we value them more, and if things don't cost a lot, then we don't value them as much. And this is the case with the kit lens, and the price does range. You can get it from $50 to $300. The $50 could be a used lens from like KEH or some other place, and $300 is gonna be brand new directly from B&H or Amazon or a place like that. But the reality of it again is this lens, although it's cheap in price, doesn't mean you can't get good quality out of it as you're seeing right now. Now, the second reason is going to be the size. And again, our society, we look at things as if it's bigger, then it's better, but that's not the case with this lens. This lens can almost be considered a pancake lens, especially when you turn it off because of how small it actually gets. But the size of this lens is actually one of the benefits that makes it superior to a lot of the lenses out there that are actually higher picture quality. And that is because it's so small, you're gonna take your camera with you more places, especially if you're doing things like vlogging, if you're gonna be on a ship, like a cruise ship, or if you're gonna be on vacation. I could tell you, hands down, you are not going to take your expensive big lens with you and have to carry it in some case with you when you're out on vacation. It's going to take away from your vacation, and that's the last thing you want your camera to do. You want it to fit in with what you're doing so you can capture what you're seeing. Now, the last reason I believe some people have with buying this camera is YouTube. Now, I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. I love YouTube, and I think YouTube is a great platform. I've been watching it for years, and that's the reason I started this channel, is because I really enjoy YouTube. Not only for what I get out of it, but what I can put back out as well and help other people from what I've learned in my own experience with my business and just what I've learned from YouTube as well. Now, just like anything in life, there's a good side to things and then there's a bad side to things. So the bad side to YouTube is the fact that it is very influential, meaning once a crowd of people start to do something and it catches on, they become the majority and they become the voice for everything. They are at the top of the charts, their videos are seen, and what they say holds more weight than others. Now, that's just the nature of YouTube, and I respect the nature of YouTube. And as I put in work and as I grow, I will get to a point to where my voice is loud and is heard. But I will tell you this, from my experience of owning my own business, shooting with multiple cameras, including the Sony ZV E10 and this kit lens over years, I could tell you that this kit lens with the Sony ZV E10, one light, a light stand, and a shower curtain, and a microphone is enough to have a very successful YouTube channel. I could tell you that if you're just looking at quality alone. All right, so another part of getting the best out of your kit lens is color grading. Now, this isn't something you have to do, but it is what I do because it does allow you to get a little bit more out of it and to just give it a more polished look. So I'm using DaVinci Resolve, which is a free program that you can download. I'll link to it below. but you could pull your footage right into this editor and do all kinds of adjustment. And I'm just gonna show you some quick stuff here, just what my workflow is when I'm working with the kit lens specifically. So once you open up DaVinci Resolve, then you'll go down to your color tab here, which is this little circle looking thing. It looks like a dial. And then you have all these controls in front of you. Now, I'm not gonna go over all of these because there's just way too many to go over, and we will be sitting here for hours. But I'm just gonna show you some quick stuff that you can do to get a good picture. So now this picture that you're looking at here came right out of the ZV E10. So this is what I was working with when I put up the shower curtain and the light and things like that. You can see it's a little bit dark. Now I shot it that way on purpose because I can bring it up later in post. Now you may not want to do that. You may just want to turn your light up a little bit, and then that way, whatever you get right out of the camera, you have to work with. But I like to do it this way, and I'll show you why in a sec. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come over here to my curves. And what I'll do is this little arrow here, I can drag this down and watch what happens to the picture when I do this. You see that? It brings down the highlights, but it also brings up the shadows at the same time. And I'll start over, see? And that just gives me a nice, smooth look. A lot of people have asked me, how do I get that look? This right here is what I do. And that's really it for exposure. I can add another node here. And then I maybe label this one here. I'll label this one Luma for luminance. And then this one here, I will name color. And then what I can do is just add just a dash of color. I can go to color boost here and just boost up the colors just a little bit. Now, if you set your white balance and things like that correctly, then when you add the color boost, everything should be perfect. But if you didn't set your white balance correctly, this is where you're going to start to have problems. Colors are going to look out of place. Your skin is not going to look right. So you just want to make sure that you get the right white balance in camera, especially with 8-bit footage. So now if you want to change some other things, you can. So if I add another node here, let's say I wanted to do a vignette. So I come down here to this little circle here. I'll click this and you get this here. And then you can adjust this around yourself. So this is basically a mask. And basically what that means is whatever is inside of this circle won't be affected by the changes that I'm gonna make. Everything outside of the circle will be affected by the change that I want. And these little lines here just tell you where the change is going to take place. So I kind of want this to be like an oval shape here. And then if I go into here and I start to manipulate things, you'll see everything around me. If I go really crazy with this, you'll see everything around me gets dark while I'll stay in focus, or I'll stay unchanged. So if I just wanted to bring that down just a little bit, and maybe I wanted to feather this out just a little bit more, just so it's a little bit more subtle, then that way it just gives me a nice separation from my background. Now you can always go back, and this is why I love DaVinci Resolve. You can always go back to your nodes here after you make an adjustment, and you can change what you previously did. So let's say I want to add a little bit more light to this, just a little bit more brightness. I can do that here. Now, if I don't want to bring up my shadows and I just want to affect the highlights and midtones, then I can drag this here, and this will brighten up the picture for me. So you can really do this to taste. If you want a brighter picture like this, you can do it, but you don't really want to overexpose it. So that's really the key, is just make sure you don't go over. And then this is what I have now. So let's look at the before and after so we could see. So that's after, that's before. So after and before. And like I said, if I shot this a little bit brighter right here, my results will be different. But since I shot it a little bit lower, it allows me to bring things up later in post. And I like the way this looks. You can't really even tell there's a vignette there, but it is there. And I think it looks pretty nice. So like, I'll turn the vignette on and off with full screen. That's without it, that's with it. Without it, with it. It just makes me stand out a little bit more. So those are things that you can do with the kit lens as far as corrections after the fact, just to get a little bit more out of it. Again, this is not something you have to do, but it is something that can give you a little bit more punch to your picture. You could play around and do a lot more with this. But anyway, if this type stuff has been helpful to you and you want to see more of this, just let me know. But until next time, I'll holler at y'all later. I'm out. Peace.